My name is Ashley Marston. I am a nursing executive here in Atlanta. Moved here about 2.5 years ago from Memphis. My life today, I am a PhD student. So I graduated in December. My doctorate work is on social determinants of health and pressure injury outcomes for oncology patients. So I feel like you should always be learning. So I'm doing that. At the same time, I've got 2 teenagers, both with type 1 diabetes. Both are very athletic, play sports. My daughter is a senior and my son is a freshman. So we're doing football, basketball, or some other type of sporting event all the time. So I'm working, momming, every day. Being a woman over 40, definitely I feel like when you're in your 20s, you're kind of trying to figure it out, stumbling through. Your 30s, you're really learning, growing, finding yourself, and those were some of the best years. But now being 40, I do feel like you're wiser and you're really learning to thrive in your own skin and who you are. So my early 20s, I would say the main lesson out of that I got was it's not my timing, it's God's timing, and He's got a plan way bigger than mine and ever that I could imagine. So I would say those times, even though they went by way too quickly, it was probably some of the best times of my life to really learn that I need to put my trust in someone else other than myself. And you're going to be afraid and you're not going to think things are supposed to happen that way, but you can still do it afraid. You need to have that courage and keep going. So getting pregnant in my 20s, both times really taking birth control or just abruptly stopping, really showed me that, again, it's not my timing. It's God's timing. There's a much bigger plan than you could ever imagine. And if I hadn't have had children when I was in my 20s, I wouldn't have kids at all. So I think that being a mother is something I've always wanted to do and to be. And honestly, if I hadn't have had my kids the way I did and the way it all happened, even though it wasn't planned, it was part of the bigger picture and the bigger plan, because again, I would not have been able to be the mother I am today and have the 2 blessings of children that I have if I hadn't have done it early. So for years, and being a nurse at the bedside and, trying to say, well, I was a former athlete and I should be able to deal with pain. I think there was a few times where I couldn't even stand upright. Like I couldn't even straighten my back. The bleeding was horrible, and I'm kind of a laughing and joyful type person. So I would go to the doctor and just kind of be like, hey, something's wrong. And I'd kind of just get dismissed, or they would say, cause I am 6'2", oh, you're twice as big as a normal woman, so here's some more birth control. So I kept going, trying to do, quote unquote, what was right, and go to the doctor, and really I just kept being pushed over and over of like, oh, it could be this or could be that, and kind of just brushed off because I wasn't crippled over in pain at that moment. And I think it was just really hard for me to go through years of being a nurse. And, really, to be honest, now, especially in healthcare, people have their hands on so much more information, which is a great thing. But even myself, looking up the information, like, I know something's not right. And so, the gaining of the weight, the bloating, not being able to lose weight, all that stuff that I went through, and the severe pain, I just wish sometimes I could go back and be as forceful I was at the end a little bit sooner, and I probably wouldn't have gone through what I went through. So I'll say whenever they kept kind of just pushing me away or giving me more medicine, I actually went to work one day, and I really was like, something is wrong with me. And, I was pale, I was sweating, and I just went to the OBGYN's office. I didn't have an appointment, and I refused to leave. I said, I've done all this research. Something's wrong with me. I don't know if it's fibroids, endometriosis, or what, but something is not right in there, and I'm not leaving until you tell me what's wrong. I'll say the biggest lesson I learned in that is how I lead now as a nurse executive, because I was met with, ma'am, we're not giving you any opioids today, any narcotic medication. And I said, I didn't ask you for any pain medication. And I think that was like a sombering moment for me, but also really sad, because how can we get so just insensitive to our patients to where we think just because they're in so much pain and showing up at our office that they're just drug seeking. So how can we be more compassionate and just have that humanity again? So as I try to lead now, I always think, okay, there could be something. This patient knows their body more than we do. We need to listen instead of judge. So in that moment, though, I did refuse to leave. And then I made them kind of at least schedule an exploratory surgery. After that surgery, they found out it was stage 4. So it actually probably had went on several years longer. They said I probably at least had endometriosis growing for at least 7 years. And so I had let it go and let it go and let it go. And so it really, was really, I guess, scary for me that I had let it go that long, but also taught me to advocate for myself a lot sooner and really to trust my body and trust. I just knew there was a little voice in my head of like, something's not right. And I should have just trusted it a little bit earlier.